After I've got the fingerboard prepped, it's all cleaned up. Looks great. The edges are they're rounded over a little from playing. Edges of the fingerboard from playing over the years rounds over naturally, which is really, really nice. Where it hasn't, I want to just keep it a little more uniform. So I'm going to slightly roll over the edges of the fingerboard. Because we don't want an old guitar to now all of a sudden feel new, so I roll the fingerboard edges over again. It just feels a lot better that way. Feels broken in, not brand new with sharp edges. A lot more comfortable. There we go. Done with the edge of the fingerboard there. I want to rough up the lacquer slightly right on the edge, like if there was some binding on here. So when we go ahead in the end apply the new fingerboard lacquer, it's going to bond to the lacquer on the side of the neck. If we don't kind of rough that up a bit, the lacquer tends not to stick as well. We don't want that to start flaking off or falling off in the future because the new lacquer hasn't adhered to the original old lacquer. I just want to check everything and make sure it's consistent and smooth. Feels really natural to the hand, to the shape of the hand. That feels great. So next, we're going to go ahead and clamp the neck down again. Because now we got to clean out the glue, some of the crud in the fret slots. So we take our fret saw and we're going to slowly and again carefully saw into the fret slot and get out any residue or glue. Anything that keeps the fret from going down into the fret slot. Again, usually doesn't take much. Because we're just cleaning it out. And so I've made this little fret block that holds all my frets. They're all numbered so I don't lose track of what's going on. In the case of this guitar, we've gone from the Fender vintage sized fret wire, which is very small, to a jumbo fret. This is a 6105, so it's a little narrower than jumbo wire, but it's taller. But what happens is now the tang is bigger. It's a lot deeper than the original tang. So we want to make sure the fret slot's deep enough to accommodate the new fret. So what I've done is I've taken one of the frets and then I've filed or sanded off the little nubs that are on the tang, and the tang is what goes down into the fingerboard. So I've taken the nubs off so I can actually fit the fret tang down into the fingerboard, just to make sure my fret slot is deep enough. And if it's not, then I have to saw the fret slot a little deeper. So that's my little gauge. So I test all my fret slots to make sure they're deep enough to hold the new fret wire. And then after they're recut again and they're down to the correct depth, then I'm ready to start installing frets. So what I like to do is, and a lot of guys will use, there's a fret radius tool. I kind of do it by hand, where I will hand bend every fret wire. Everybody does this different. Most people use the tool. I've had the tool, I've tried the tool, I don't really care for the tool. So I still hand radius all my frets, which is a lot more tedious, by hand. And I'm really going to cut off some of this excess fret wire because I don't need it all. So I've pre-radiused a couple frets here. So what that does is those tiny little nubs on the fret tang, when you pound them in, they go down into the wood and they kind of open that wood up, they open a channel. But as you flatten the fret out, as you're hammering, and the fret starts to lay out to the correct radius of the fingerboard, those nubs are going down and kind of locking themselves in. So that's nice. It's one way the fret stays in the fingerboard. I always glue my frets in. Some people don't. Again, to each his own. I've never had a fret come out of the fingerboard because I glue them. I don't use a lot of glue. I put a nice little line, a bead on there. I get one end down, tap it a little, the other end. And then I kind of massage the fret in there and walk it across. This isn't a regular hammer either. It's a brass hammer, so it absorbs a lot of the blow so you don't dent the fret. I like that. I have no gapping. Frets in there nice and snug. It's not popping out. I don't even have any glue coming out of it, but I wipe it off anyway just to make sure it's clean. And that's how I do the frets. Again, I've been asked to do a video about this for years, and some people don't like to show or share their trade secrets or how they do something. I've been doing this for 35 years, and I'm just at the point where, you understand, I can show you how to do all this, but that doesn't mean you're going to be any good at it. I mean, I've done thousands of refrets, and like anything else, it takes time, it takes practice. You get better, and you get better over the years. I think in the mid-90s, I had done like 600 and stopped counting then, so I'm well into the thousands. So I just, again, I'm doing this video because people ask, well, why does a refret cost so much money? It's because there's so many stages. There's so many things you have to do. And so many things that it takes to do a proper refret. It's a long, time-consuming project. So that's primarily why I'm doing the video, so you see what's involved with your average refret. Also, I was just asked a question, why don't I use a fret press? And it's a press that you press the frets down into the fingerboard instead of hammering them. I just find I have a lot more control with the hammer. I can manipulate the fret in certain sections if I need to. You can't do that in a press. So again, in my old school ways, I'm just kind of stuck in doing that, but works perfect for me. Now we got all of these frets in. We've got to trim off all the excess. And yet one more step in the refret process. And there we have it. Now we'll do the other side.